I use breakout rooms a lot. Breakout rooms, breakout rooms, breakout rooms, breakout rooms. I never invite a big room to a conversation.
Avec le télétravail généralisé, qu'il soit complet ou partiel, le fameux hybride, tu travailleras forcément tôt ou tard avec des équipes au moins en partie à distance, si ce n'est pas déjà le cas. Mais alors, comment faire? Comment t'y préparer? On a demandé à Jimmy Janlén ses conseils de facilitateur chevronné. Et il a accepté de donner une interview à Scrum Life pour nous partager ses trucs et astuces et pour t'aider à remplir ta trousse à outils, pour que toi aussi, tu deviennes un as de l'animation, et même à distance.
So we are very pleased to be with Jimmy Janlén. We know Jimmy for his wonderful book, and we'll be very happy to discuss about it. But maybe can you introduce yourself to the Scrum Life community, Jimmy?
Hello everyone watching. My name is Jimmy Janlén, based in Stockholm, Sweden. Developer in a former life, but since forever it feels like I've been an Agile coach, a workshop facilitator, teacher, and recently a YouTube wannabe, I guess. Besides coaching, I do tons of workshops and teach. I write the occasional book, YouTube. I have Jimmy cards as well. So yeah, I try to invent playful stuff.
So yeah, we really love your book on visual management, 96 visualization examples. We really recommend it whenever we can. However, today most teams are now working at least partially remote. So we're kind of curious, how do you do visual management nowadays with remote or hybrid teams?
I thought my book became obsolete during the pandemic. So now, no, this will just fade into oblivion and be forgotten. But no, there's a new interest. So people are finding inspiration in this for their murals. So that makes me super happy. In one sense, it's even more powerful than a whiteboard, at least if you're a little bit creative and have the discipline to update it. There's a lot of downsides, of course, but I'm happy to see that there are so many teams using that. Or, a little bit sadder, maybe using only JIRA, or having task boards in Notion or linear. I get it. It's digital, it's accessible, and it's maybe integrated, but it doesn't give that feeling, and it doesn't give you the overview either. So I understand it. It's practical, but I'm always happy when I see a beautiful Miro board. The one thing I do miss about whiteboards is the spontaneous creative doodling to understand the problem, or you can sketch or draw or erase and fix, and then after a few minutes you have become a little bit smarter together. That's kind of tricky to do. You don't get the same creative messiness. So I miss that.
What you describe is definitely what we're doing or pushing to do with our teams, and likewise we still use the tips with some adaptations, and so we keep recommending it. Do you have any specific tips about facilitating remote teams?
Yeah, I do. So I remember when I realized that, holy crap, we're all going to work remote now. So all meetings are going to be boring, and we're not going to be able to have creative workshops. And so I was really concerned about the quality of the meetings. And I was also concerned whether my facilitation skills were applicable in remote. So pretty quickly after the pandemic hit and everyone was working from home, I was asked to, Jimmy, can you do a seminar? I was working with the client. Can you do a seminar on how to do good remote meetings? I don't know. No, I don't think so. And then I had to think about it, and there were a lot of workshops I facilitated at the same time. So a few days later, I realized, yeah, I can do a 1 hour talk on that, because I discovered that 90% of what I do as a facilitator in the physical room, I can do is applicable in the virtual space as well. One thing I noticed, I need to prepare way more. So if it's just a whiteboard meeting, people in the room, well, I scribble maybe an agenda and maybe some timings, and then I kind of draft the structure of the whiteboard on which people are going to collaborate on. Done 15 minutes later. But if it's a full day work, half-day workshop with a bunch of people using Miro, well, I can spend hours preparing a slide deck with content and instructions, and hours preparing the Miro board for them, so it's useful. But what I do more of in remote settings than maybe physical is I use breakout rooms a lot. Breakout rooms, breakout rooms, breakout rooms, breakout rooms. I never invite a big room to a conversation. So I never go, hello, 10 people. Here's a question. What's your thought? I never do that. So whenever I want people to discuss, create a proposal, debate something, do an exercise, breakout rooms. 2, 3, or 4 people in breakout rooms. And then 5, 10 minutes later, 20 minutes later, we gather back and present back or debrief. And we can ask questions, but as soon as it's about to be creative or problem solving, breakout rooms, breakout rooms, breakout rooms, breakout rooms. Because it's just super difficult to have a conversation remote. As we're having now, we're struggling a little bit, the three of us, to figure out when is an appropriate timing to jump in. Is that pause due to lag, or is that intentional? So that the three of us already are having a little bit difficulty having a fluid conversation, and that problem doesn't exist when we meet in a physical room. So that's why I always bring down the discussions to breakout rooms. So that's one thing I guess I do, and then I camera on, period. How can others see that you are engaged? And you need to show that you are engaged. In the physical room, everyone can read the tiniest nuance of how you sit, your facial expressions. But when remote, so JP, are your screen frozen? I don't know. You're intensely listening. Or the screen is frozen. So when you meet physically, when you meet remote, you need probably to do more nodding or thumbs up, or you need to express your thinking a little bit more than you're used to, so that others can see that you are engaged, that you are listening, you're agreeing, or so that's another thing I do encourage to.
You mentioned earlier some common tools like JIRA and stuff like that. All these project management or ticketing tool out there. So you seem like it might not be the best way. So and we agree. And how do you convince people to try another approach? Which we mentioned the Miro. How do you get them to just out of the ticketing world?
One important thing is that if you, for example, have JIRA or Linear or Trello or whatever, those are brilliant for keeping track of ongoing tasks right now, short term, details. You can assign, you can have checklists and whatnot. So have it for that. Use it. If you're using it, use it for that. But as a complement, have a Miro board or a bigger visualization where you maybe paint the roadmap, you can draw dependencies, a stakeholder map, you can have graphs of KPIs. So use them for different purposes. Don't just duplicate, because that's not going to make anyone happy and everyone going to be bored with the additional work. So I would say, so yeah, use the Miro visualization to visualize a different aspect, preferably a little bit longer term or a bit aggregated, zoomed out.
To share mine and our experience about this, because we have the same kind of experience with Constantin, is that indeed when people start using a tool, it's really hard not to be constrained by the tool, and even sometimes it is painful from them. So they are explicitly working around the way the tool is done, and honestly, it makes things even worse than if they were just using the tool the way it was made to be used.
No, I totally agree. So people over process, right? But then the sad thing, JIRA, for example, super powerful. You can I guess change it into behave exactly how you want. but that's tiring, right? And then we want the JIRA boards to look similar. So then we kind of generalize so that all boards look the same, and then we start to lock in with admin rights and whatnot. And then all of a sudden we're in a place where no, how we behave towards each other and the way we talk about work is governed by the tool, not the reverse. So I agree, and the way we visualize, the way these tools visualize work is going to shape the conversation we have about the work, and limits our way of collaborating or setting rules or removing rules, etc. So I think this is it can be dangerous. That actually we're missing out an opportunity, because, as you said, if we're drawing on a mirror or mural, well, we decide our own process and what the colors mean, and yeah.
Back to the remote topic. After this time experimenting remote or hybrid, would you recommend people to go back to the office as soon as they can to be effective? Or do you think that hybrid and or full remote can be viable or even maybe more efficient?
No, I would recommend going back to the office, but not because you're more effective or productive, but for the sake of relationships and getting a pulse or the random coffee chat. Because I've learned, I was worried in the beginning of the pandemic, but I've seen teams and I've worked with teams and I've figured out you can have great teamwork, sprint plannings, retrospectives, workshops, Google Design Sprint. You can have all of that remote. But I think, and you get to know the people in your team because you're in their homes. But the distance to others becomes really huge. So you miss the social interactions, the random coffee chat, the random connections. Oh, you're working on that. Cool. Tell me more. Or, oh, I heard the other week there was a meltdown in production. You must have had a horrible time in the customer support. Tell me about. So all these kind of random conversations don't happen. And that's dangerous for business, because that's when we connect, we build our networks. That's when innovation happens. The sporadic thought, but wait a second, should we talk more about that? So I think from a business perspective, it's dangerous not to have that. Because if we're only remote, as I said earlier, I'm not aware of other meetings. I don't see people, what they're doing. I don't get the vibe, how people are doing. Tends to be, some managers tend to have way more meetings, one-on-ones, just to stay in the loop because they feel disconnected. Yeah, go back to job, because we need friends and chatter and the tiny exercise we get from traveling to and from work. But don't go to work to be more productive. But I'm feeling empathy for the leadership who are trying to figure out, how do we get people back to office? How can we lure them? How can we have parties? Can we have activities? How can we make the office more attractive? Or you simply say, Tuesdays and Thursdays are office days, period. And that's fine too, as long as they're clear.
Is there anything else you would like to share with the Scrum Life community?
Yeah, watch my YouTube. It's great. It's in English with me talking English with a Swedish accent. Yeah, so yeah, watch that. Plenty of great episodes. You can have it just playing in the background. You don't even have to watch it. Just click like sometimes and just have it rolling. I need the likes, I need the views.
Si tu veux te procurer un des livres de Jimmy ou d'autres de ses créations comme ses jeux de cartes, eh bien, n'hésite pas à aller les commander sur sa boutique. On te met le lien dans la description. Encore un grand merci à Jimmy. Et si tu cherches à étoffer ta trousse à outils de facilitateur, inscris-toi à notre formation gratuite. On y propose une collection d'outils aussi bien à imprimer qu'à utiliser avec des tableaux blancs numériques. Clique ici pour t'y inscrire. Quelle que soit l'équipe, un des moments les plus importants, c'est bien sûr la rétrospective. Comment bien l'animer, notamment à distance. Dans cette vidéo, on te donne nos astuces sur la rétro et justement comment faire à distance. Vous êtes mes plus grands fans?